I had a great idea that I wanted to show you guys, share with the Moto community. The ghost footage is coming to this channel. And up top here, we have Hunter's going to go way around the outside, and then you have Joe that's going to come to the inside. Who did it faster? So let's take a look. Boom, ghost. And it looks like Joe actually is going faster. And I've got another one planned at the middle of this video, so make sure you hold on and hit that subscribe button if you're tuning in. This video is going to be about some of the great lines that I filmed because I had hundreds of hours of footage from Iron Man. Maybe not that much, but a lot. Up first, we have Jet doing what Jet does, where he just is light and just hops over everything. So watch him as he comes through here. Boom, just wheelies over. Look at this. How he's able to just keep that front wheel light. And if you paid attention to my podcast earlier this week with Trey Kennard, he talks a lot about the suspension dynamic and what they do. What was really interesting is they said that they're more about having that rear wheel and the wheels just follow the bumps, not skip across them like whoops, but almost like trophy truck where the travel is going down and then up. So it's very fast and yet soft. So here you have just Jet wheeling over these bumps and just able to just kick everyone's ass, for lack of better terminology. And I really want to emphasize how this man continues to just roll on. Listen to the motor. Just rolls. He's not attacking. He's not just hammering and having things explode on him. It's very just and he's able to do that. And that was very difficult, but we'll continue to see some of this roll on. Listen to the motor. Just rolls. And the other thing that I thought was very interesting is notice this, okay? He is pretty much gets off that rear brake right away, where he didn't even hit the brakes around the corner. It was just sheer blown, just coast, coast, coast. Here's another example. Do you hear him? Bruh. And this track was so rough, but he just lands and bruh, 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 bruh. Lets the suspension do all the talking. And here, this is back to that corner jump where he's able to just go right through the berm. And the guy that couldn't, who I saw that was trying to keep up with him, was Tomac. And did you see what happened? What was the big difference between the two? Well, you have Jet, where Jet is just rolling, no brakes, roll, letting the motorcycle do its thing, and Tomac slams on his brakes, kills the motor. And then that was kind of the last time that I saw him do that, because he's got just such an explosive style where he's just trying to just haul ass everywhere. Because it might be hard to hear him through here, but listen to his motor. He just grabs the clutch, loads the throttle, and then just releases it, and you just hear it hit the rev limiter right away. Here, I'll do it again. And here's another thing with Tomac and then also Jet. Notice their motors here. So there's Joe, Tomac wide open, and then we'll have Jet come through here and just land bounce, and that was so crazy. And then you also have Geyser just sending it with this big double, which is... He was the only guy that I saw do that. So there was two things there that were freaking spectacular. Okay, the first one is going to be Jet land and have the motorcycle rebound, and boom, he's going to preload off of it. And the next thing is Geyser. Wow, so cool. So here, I'm going to slow that down so you can see what Jet is doing with these massive ruts here. So freaking incredible. This was probably the coolest thing that I saw the entire weekend. Lands, preloads, gets all the way up and over. And if we watch his brother, what is his brother, who won both motos? Still fast, but not near as fast as I would say Jet. Just unhuman to be able to do that. Come off of something that has zero lip and be able to do it with massive ruts. Just absolutely insane. And if you want to see it in speed... The dude's doing 40 freaking miles an hour. Insane. So at this point, we're going to do another ghost ride where you have Hunter, the guy that went 1-1, versus Joe Shimoda, which in my podcast, you also find out why Joe wasn't allowed to ride with Hunter. Not necessarily allowed, but it just... Anyway, listen to the podcast with Trey, and you'll hear what I'm talking about here. But here's both of them. One guy's going to go inside, the other guy's going to go outside. And offhand, it looks faster. Who got there first? Well, by the ghost, it was Joe got there first. But at the end of it, the guy that ends up actually leaning and winning is going to be Hunter because he's not having to roll through this stuff. So the inside is faster. However, you make up all the time right afterwards. So this thing is pretty cool. I'm going to continue to be doing some of this so that it's harder to edit. However, it is so cool that I want to keep implementing it because it is something that I can learn from and the fans can learn from as far as learning from some of the best riders in the world. And you can hear in the background with how much the fans are just going ape shit crazy for. I think there was 200,000 fans there, which is insane. Because I'm learning as well. I made a small mistake over the weekend. I was like, what the heck is this? Hiding axle blocks? Because here in America, I never see this. I never see duct tape around. This is Kaida Wolf's Team Netherlands motorcycle is 250, and I was thinking they just wanted to hide where the chain was, you know, just where the axle was. But in hindsight, after figuring everything out, what's really going on is during their sight lap, they want to make it easy for them to change tires, so they cover that up and there's no mud packed in the axle, which makes sense. But all the American riders, they just had like wire brushes and brushes out there to get the dirt off their rear wheel. And these guys were literally just changing the entire set. The other thing that was interesting was everyone during qualifying and everything, they had two different sets of bikes there where they were swapping motorcycles, and Team USA, they were switching between Deegan's bike and Webb's bike on the HRC Hondas. You saw Hunter riding Jet's bike and then also riding two of his motorcycles. And after talking with their mechanics, they were testing different suspension, not so much different motor packages, but literally just different suspension, which was also pretty dang cool. And here, I want you to pay attention to Tomac's motor. Again, he's going to come in here, and what do you notice? He is dragging the rear brake. He is trail braking, but at the last second, we're going to see him, just slide right off and just blow up this berm. Okay, I'll be quiet. Boom. But at the last second, watch him move that foot. Briefly back. He just kind of scooted back, which I thought was pretty cool. But other riders, like Jet, I saw come through there, wasn't dragging any brakes at all. Okay, got to give German the shout-out with Ken Rocks, and look what he does here, okay? He is sitting down around this right-hander where he's not dragging the rear brake, and he's not even sticking both of his feet out. So the inside, not leaving the leg open, right? Just on the foot pegs, and then the outside, you'll notice that foot is actually going to blow up some of the dirt as well. Boom. Pretty cool. Not dragging any brakes. He's underneath that rear brake, but both feet are on the foot pegs. Just a little bit different style. Something that I didn't see many riders do. If I look at some other guys, you've got Hunter, and what Hunter does is he stands up and then sits down at the last bit. So here, he is standing up. He's not dragging that rear brake either, but then he just sits down at the end and accelerates. And you had Joe go from the outside, and he drags the rear brake around the entire corner and lets off right at the end. So if you're going to drag your rear brake, most of these guys are dragging until the exit, and then they get off. So, it makes no sense to be holding down the power if you're going in a straight line and you're wide open. Makes zero sense. Same corner. Now listen to Tomac. What is he doing? Yeah, he's not dragging the rear brake here, but he is just loading that clutch yet again. Going to blow that sucker up. I wonder what the riding style is going to be on that KTM. I know there's some rumors out there with him going back to Cowie. I think the reason why he left Cowie was they weren't letting him move the bike. So maybe things have changed, but I still have a funny intuition in what I've been hearing in the background is the KTM deal is done. So probably the thing that I hated the most was this, is them fixing the outside of the gates every moto. So it really didn't matter what kind of gate pick you had because it was fair. I hated this. I hated this with a passion, but not to end on a negative note. That's why I want to ask you guys to subscribe. And I am going to change my membership up a bit starting the beginning of the year. And I'm going to be doing more giveaways with goggles and helmets and other fun stuff. So if you want to be a part of that, there's the membership tab as well with some comment perks and so much cool stuff is coming. This is Johnny Hopper. Till next time, keep it WFO. Ba-ra-da-da-da-da.